First to bat, 27-year-old Ravi Ratnayeke from Sri Lanka. 18 test matches, Sri Lanka the newest test nation, and already 44 one-day tests. One of the world's great fast bowlers, Malcolm Marshal from the West Indies, 29 years old. 240 test wickets at an average of 21.64. For many people, the fastest bowler in the world. And Richard Hadlee from New Zealand must be one of the favourites. In tremendous form, even though he's now 36 years old, almost did the double again in English cricket this season, just 3 wickets short.
Well, Ravi Ratnayeke, the outsider, certainly gave his more illustrious challengers something to think about. In his 8 overs, he scored a brisk 60 runs, spoiled only by 2 dismissals. Were we about to see another upset in the last of the round 1 matches? Second to bat was Malcolm Marshal. We join his innings in the 6th over. After a slow start, Malcolm's now got to accelerate to get far enough ahead to give himself a chance of victory.
Oh my God.
Well, they get the single eventually.
Indeed, non-striker refusing to go, refusing to run there, which puts Malcolm Marshal somewhat in a quandary. Let's have a look at him here. He tries to clip it leg side into the vacant area. Slips, but determined to have his way. No, he's a non-striker, not coming. He has to all change.
Yes, I've noticed throughout his innings, the non-striker, Martin Robinson, has been saying quite a lot. So Malcolm's obviously told him that he's got a part to play in deciding whether there's a run on or not. Two there to Malcolm. Richard, happy with 71 on the board at the moment?
I could do with another wicket, but pick up a couple of wickets so far in the contest is okay. I could certainly do with another 1 or 2, as many more I can get in the next over. But I think the whole contest here is quite evenly poised at the moment, actually.
Finely balanced, but really, considering you're the one to bat, you've got not too big a margin there.
Not at the moment. The problem I may have is it's a little bit of bad light later on. It's getting a bit darker.
It's your choice, in fact, to bat last. We've seen in the other matches that that's not always been an advantage. Are you changing your thinking at all on that?
I still think it's an advantage batting last because you know exactly what you've got to chase and where you can take your calculated gamble against what other opponent if maybe you've got to attack one other bloke but not get out to the other bloke sort of thing. So it's just early stages for me to work that out. I've still got another over to complete and hope Mel can get a few runs off Ravi and of course not to get out. But that's bad news for me though.
Yes, I think Ravi Ratnayeke really did need that. He said he needed a couple of wickets. He felt if he was still to be in this contest, and that puts him back up to 1-3-3 again. And that's a significant shift, isn't it?
It certainly is from my point of view, because it makes quite a big differential. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. I've still got another over. Mind you, Ravi's got another one as well, so it just depends on Malcolm's attitude now as to how he approaches the next couple of overs plus.
Well, Malcolm Marshal down to 96 as a result of that wicket, so he's really got to get on with it.
He's got to get wickets, doesn't he? He's got to get me out a few times.
Yes, if he's going to get back into that, he's certainly got to get some wickets, but he's still, even then, I would say, Richard, he's got to look for about 20 to 30 runs off those last couple of overs too, hasn't he?
I think he has, which means I've got to set a slightly different field now than what I've had. Take my slip out and be a little more defensive. And I hope he puts one up in the air or misses a straight one.
We shall see.
Very interesting bowling here, I think, by Ravi Ratnayeke, particularly in view of his changed field. He might have just been gambling for the extra wicket there by taking the man from the leg side, anticipating that Malcolm Marshal was going to have to hit across the line for that deep mid-wicket boundary. He did that and he got a wicket. Might just be very shrewd thinking. Could be a potential Mike Brearley here, perhaps. And some very good bowling, getting a lot of bounce, preventing Malcolm Marshall doing anything with that at all.
So Ravi Ratnayeke puts himself back in the game there. 133 his score. Malcolm Marshall now 96. Richard Hadlee 71. Well, Richard's put in an extra cover on the boundary.
An ironic cheer for the local fielder. He's done a lot of sterling work down at long on.
Ravi, you must have enjoyed getting that wicket. Put you right back in there.
Yes, definitely. I was hoping I'd get something. And just got it the right time, really. I think I'll need one more. And put a little pressure on Richard when he goes to bat.
Richard was saying at the very moment you struck that the last thing he wanted was you to get a wicket. It's all now becoming very interesting and very tight, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's getting very tight. I'm hoping that Richard won't get anything. And I'll be able to just pick up something, so put Richard, put him under his pressure when he's batting last.
And every run that Malcolm can get off him, you won't be too unhappy about either.
No, definitely.
Still got one over to come. Will you still be looking to go for wickets in that over?
What I'm really trying to do is to bowl limited over stop, just try to contain. I am expecting batsmen to do the mistake instead of trying to go for wickets and give away runs. I think it's more sensible to do that. You know, because they're going to get runs anyway. So it's just a case of pegging away and waiting for them to do the mistake.
Well, good luck in that last over.
Thank you.
Is Malcolm doing you a favour?
Yeah.
Big six there off Richard Hadlee.
What a beautiful shot this was. Again, swaying onto the back foot, giving himself room, letting the arms swing through. One of those magnificent Duncan-friendly bats, and there it goes, right over the top.
And the final ball, that was from Richard Hadlee at Malcolm Marshall. And now, once again, getting very interesting. Ravi Ratnayeke 133, Malcolm Marshall 112, and Richard Hadlee after that over down to 55.
One game against Ravi and Malcolm.
The only strategy is to win.
Well, he's certainly got a tough target if he's going to be successful. Still, Richard's convinced that batting last is the place to be. So let's see how he copes with the pressure of being 70 runs off the lead.
Ravi Ratnayeke making the final adjustments to his field. Gets himself ready to bowl his first over to Richard Hadlee. He's got a third man, a square cover on the fence, an extra cover on the fence, and a short extra cover on the offside. Comes in and Hadlee tucks that one away very neatly. Richard Hadlee, of course, one of the great all-rounders. 2,622 runs in Test cricket, as well as his 355 wickets. And a 27.6 average in Test cricket. Quite a useful thing to have, Phil.
Absolutely superb. And one of the best strikers in the world today, too. With a bat, I mean.
Yes, I don't think anyone will forget that innings of his to win Nottinghamshire the
NatWest final.
The NatWest final, yes. Magnificent innings. When Nottinghamshire had fallen really badly behind.
I think he's worked it out. I mean, we've worked it out up here. I'm not sure we're right, but we've worked it out that he needs about 6 and over. And I think he'll be playing conservatively, picking up his 1s and 2s that are almost inevitable with the one-day field. I think he's absolutely right to be somewhat concerned about that light.
Yes, certainly. From the commentary position already, it's harder to pick up the ball as it leaves the bat.
Indeed. Sun's dropping on our left-hand side as we watch the play, dipping behind the skyscrapers on our left. It's quite interesting, I think, that Hadlee and Rice play together so much. And they're both very, very thinking cricketers. You could say matured together in English county cricket. They're both very much of the same mind, very statistics orientated in many ways, setting themselves targets, knowing exactly what to do in any situation.
I'm not surprised that's a no ball. Ravi Ratnayeke here faring in with a lot more purpose than he's been earlier in this match. I think it's suddenly in all their minds that they got a real chance of winning this. Overdid it there. Richard Hadlee grabs the run and gets an extra ball. Sees there's a single there.
That was good bowling, I think, by Ravi, but perhaps early in Richard's innings, Ravi might be shrewder to have the man up on the offside, at mid-off rather, saving the single. Because early on it looks as if Richard's simply going to play the ball around and look for those singles. 6 singles in the over might well be enough.
One thing's for certain, he's very definitely worked it out as Hadlee. He's not going to be panicked into going for big shots early in his innings. He knows that if he's scoring that 6 and over, somewhere around there, he's going to be in it. And the score already looking significantly better for him. Malcolm Marshal 125, but Ravi Ratnayeke down to 114, and Hadlee up to 61. Have a look at Malcolm Marshall's field. He's got a deep third man that he wants to go a little bit finer. Sort of backward point, our cover point on the boundary. Extra cover. Long leg, short mid-wicket, deep square leg, and one man back. And that's raced away down to the fine leg boundary. That really, Phil, just about the loosest ball you can bowl.
Well, I think he tried to put a bit more into that and dragged it down leg side and clipped the thigh pad, rushed off to the boundary. Just watch this. He bolted leg side, and I'm sure it clips the thigh pad. Can't actually see there, but fixes it down to the long leg boundary, whatever it was. Malcolm is definitely going to bowl a bit more quickly here. He's moved his long leg finer, and his deep square he's bringing him fine as well. Mind you, Richard's very adept at that flick off the hip, one of his favourite shots. So it's a dangerous proposition for Malcolm if he's going to bowl down that side. Making big play of taking an extended run-up now, Malcolm Marshall.
Malcolm Marshall saying, I'm in the lead, and you're going to have to fight if you want to overtake me. Friendly tap of Richard Hadley's thigh pad, saying that's your best friend at the moment. 5 runs off it in the first 2 balls.
I think this is somewhat of a needle match. This is very, very competitive between Malcolm Marshall and Richard Hadley, certainly in Test cricket. And I think Malcolm wants to prove a point here.
And Malcolm Marshall now varying it between his long run-up and his short run-up. I shouldn't think Richard Hadley is too happy when he goes on the long one, because he's definitely got the rough end of the light.
Mind you, he did elect the bat last, though.
One kept a bit low and whipped through quickly, but missing leg stump.
Malcolm, quite an aggressive appeal, but I think in his heart of hearts he thought that was going leg side. We have a look at it here. Probably pitches outside leg stump as well. Pitched outside leg stump. Somewhat camouflaged by the umpire. Couldn't really see with that pitch, but
that in one-day cricket, close to being a wide, but I think the umpire felt it was tight enough to the leg stump.
that looks very much like a wide. Surprised the umpire hasn't given that.
Another 6 off the second over, and that takes Richard Hadley up to 67. Malcolm Marshall down to 119, and Ravi Ratnayeke, who comes back onto the field to bowl, 114. Ratnayeke pushing his deep man out on the onside further round to... And Ratnayeke trudges off, I think, resigned to his fate. He knows he's now out of it, because if Malcolm Marshall gets a wicket, then Malcolm Marshall certainly won't be caught, and Richard Hadley has already overhauled him. The scoreboard: Marshall 110, Hadley 97, and Ratnayeke 93. 7 runs off the over, and that'll do it. Of course, he mustn't lose a wicket, but 7 runs off this over might be difficult to come by, Phil.
Well, it's interesting. I don't know who to put my money on. I think I might just put it on. I don't know. I don't know who to put it on.
Well,
Okay.
a friendly handshake between Malcolm Marshall and Richard Hadley, saying, well, we know it's between you and I, pal. And Richard Hadley points at the sky, I think, saying, don't bowl me a bouncer, mate. Minor adjustments, but significantly, Phil, the cover on the boundary is a very square cover for Malcolm Marshall.
Great ball. So he needs 7 off 5 balls, doesn't he, in essence?
In fact.
Well, in fact. I remember a few years ago, the bowling side would always think they've won the match if the opposition had to get 7 in the last over. But things have changed so dramatically over the last 5 years, you tend to back the side who's batting in these situations.
There we are. Richard Hadley has been...
That's 2.
Gets the 2. Richard Hadley has been playing this one very carefully, but we saw at the end of that NatWest final that he really can thrash the ball if he needs to. A mighty 6.
Absolutely right. That was of David Kapil, if I remember, from Northampton. I'm not quite sure that he'll be leaning back and hitting Malcolm Marshall back over his head for 6, but we'll see. Oh, quite a subtle ball, a slower ball, full toss, but change of pace defeated Richard Hadlee. He's cursing himself for not crashing that to the boundary, but timing's everything in this game.
He still needs 5 off 3 balls. Marshall 108, Hadlee 99. Oh, and he's picked that one up.
That is a brilliant shot.
Well, that was the one he needed. He's now just got to work the single. Absolutely brilliant.
That picks leg side up on his toes, flicks it over square leg for 4. Not a very good ball by Malcolm Marshall in the circumstances.
Malcolm Marshall still 1 in the lead, but if Richard Hadlee scores 1 run, Marshall comes down 1, Hadlee goes up 1, and Malcolm's realized that. He's got to bring the whole field in now to try and prevent that single, and Richard Hadlee's got 2 balls to do it. And that's it.
There it goes.
The crowd are cheering as if it's 1, but it's not 1, of course, because Malcolm Marshall has another ball at Richard Hadlee, and a wicket on this last ball would still give Malcolm Marshall the game. Great temptation to think it's all over. 105 plays 102, and 1 ball to come.
He's now bringing in a second slip in order to try and get that wicket. I'd like to see a short leg up, I must say, too.
And a third slip.
Third slip. Gully. I'd really like to see a throat ball here, John, with a short leg. See how Richard handles that.
Hadlee, the rifleman, turned his bat round. He's shooting all the slips. The one thing you can be sure he won't do, though, being the phlegmatic New Zealander he is, he certainly won't panic.
I think he'll try and get his body behind it and play this leg side.
Oh, and he left it. Took his bat away at the last moment. I think he decided that he wasn't going to play that one unless he had to.
Indeed. Very, very professional performance by Richard Hadlee, though. Knew what he had to do, was calmly went about his business.
It really was the perfectly timed innings, just overtaking Malcolm Marshall with 2 balls to go. So the final scores: Hadlee 105, Marshall 102, Ratnayeke 93, and Hadlee goes into the final where he'll be up against Clive Rice and Dermot Reed.
Okay, chaps, the closest game so far. I was doing my mathematical computations, getting it wrong all the time. You seemed to know what you're doing all the way through.
Well, I knew I had to get to about 60 without getting out, and taking about 25 to 30 off each bowler. And it worked out pretty well to plan, but it got very dark towards the end, and when you go to the last ball, it's a great contest. That's what cricket's about.
What about this last ball? Did you have any thoughts at all of bowling a throat ball, bringing a short man in there at bat pad on the leg side and bowling a throat ball?
No, I think it was a good game all around. Our group was fairly well contested. I don't think it would have been good to bowl a short ball. We played in best spirit, I thought, and the best man won in the end.
I thought you were somewhat philosophical in some of the comments during the match. You didn't seem philosophical in your bowling. You seemed very competitive indeed.
And that's what the game is all about, being competitive. And obviously the crowd came out to watch a good game, and I tried my best. And that's the most important thing.
It's noticeable to me watching that both you and Clive Rice seem to be the most calculating of cricketers. You've both matured together, one could say, in county cricket. Do you think having played together all these years has been beneficial in your thinking about the game?
Oh, without doubt. We both learn from each other, and I've set pretty high standards. I've had a few failings on the way, but generally I play the game to entertain, I play hard to compete, and I have an extreme will and desire to want to do well, and Clive's exactly the same. In fact, I'd be very surprised if there are any cricketers that are not competitive in this game, because you've got to be if you want to be successful.
So a particularly competitive match has come to a close. Ratnayeke, batting first, showed what a very fine cricketer he is. Malcolm Marshall, coming in second, showed what a very underrated batsman he is.
But Richard Hadlee, coming in third, took a leaf out of the book of his friend Clive Rice, pacing himself exquisitely to win in the last over. In our next programme, we look forward to a very exciting final.